For this time, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Ken Smith, Making Friends with Adversity.
Excuse me, we need the length of your speech.
5 to 7 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Through my business, I met a gentleman who was pretty successful. I got to know him, and he told me his story about his success. He said his father died when he was very young, and as a result, he had to do labor for people to help support the family. As a result of this, he didn't get to go to school. He applied when he was a teenager to be a janitor, and unfortunately they said, sorry, you can't read or write, we can't hire you. So he was a little dejected at that, but he didn't let that stand in his way. He decided that there was a small orchard nearby that could not afford to hire laborers to come in and pick. So he offered that he would take a cut of the fruit that he picked. And so he would pick all morning, and then all afternoon he would be by the side of the road selling. And he did very well at that. He helped support the family, and he was able to put money aside and eventually grow the business, hire people, add more, buy the fruits at wholesale, add more locations, and he was ready to move into a building, and he went to the bank and asked for a loan. And they told him, sorry, you've done a great job. You're excellent. Just think of what you would be today if you jumped into education. And he said, yeah, I know what I'd be. I'd be a janitor. This is a gentleman that did not let adversity stand in his way. In fact, he made friends with it. When I grew up, my dad was a rock hound. Now, what that meant to him was he had to have a sample of every kind of rock there was. And he egotistically thought that everyone in the world was a rock hound too. So when he learned of a new location, we had to put the sleeping bags in the back of the station wagon and go off that weekend, rain or shine, to that location and go collect the rocks. While he was doing that, though, we would have fun for the weekend. We would run around, and I learned very early that I like to run around on rocks, but I found that trying to work my way between rocks was difficult. And then I got the bright idea of getting on top of them and just jumping from one to another. And so I learned how to turn my obstacles into stepping stones for success. And that's what I want to recommend today. I want to give you a few stories about how adversity actually was helpful. If you embrace it, it can actually be very helpful. Actually 30 years ago this month, in December 1981, I was in a very difficult position. I was renting an apartment, and the last couple of months I had been trying to move my friends into something that sounded too good to be true, and unfortunately the DA thought it was too, and froze their accounts while he investigated. Well, how many businesses survive once your account's frozen? So that business went out of business, and my people lost money that they put in, all the friends I had. And so I was laying in bed, my lights had been shut off, the electricity was out, I was overdue on my rent, and I had the brilliant idea that an industry I participated in the past, multi-level marketing, it was called then, it's now called network marketing, needed a publication. I was being called upon by friends on a periodic basis to, one, to join their new program, but two, to give them advice on how to build it, because I've had a limited amount of success with some of the other ones before. And I thought, wow, the best way I could expand my business out there, my knowledge to other people, was if I publish it monthly in a magazine. And so they're laying there at 2 o'clock in the morning on December 30th, 1981. I woke up at 2 in the morning with the idea I could publish a magazine to promote this idea. And I got right to work on it. Now I had to get some candles and put them in a cardboard box with a sheet of glass over it to make my light table to develop a brochure about it. But I came up with some ideas. One, I had a friend who had not gotten involved in that other thing with me and had some money, and I promised her I would give her I would double her money if she loaned me $500. And I penciled it out. I could make some brochures and sell them for a dime a piece, and then hire some people on a piecemeal basis. I broke up different aspects of the potential business and pay piece rate so that I could pay strictly out of the cash flow that came in. Ultimately, it worked. I was able to build a business that eventually hired 14 people and lasted 8 years publishing that. The problem was the industry itself at that time, probably still today, was just too secretive. People would subscribe to the magazine and then hide it when their organizations came over because there were ads in it of other opportunities. And there was just no way to publish without advertising revenue. So eventually that one went bad. But I got involved in a barter system while I was publishing. I traded a lot of my ad space for printing, things like that. Printed portions of the publication, printed flyers, printed all kinds of things, as well as did other things with that trade. So when the magazine finally went down in flames, I still had all those trade dollars, and I was able to then pick up and start using those to go into several other potential businesses, and finally realized that what I really needed to do was sell barter. Since I had those trade dollars and wanted to purchase things that weren't readily available with those trade dollars, then I could sign in the businesses that I wanted to spend them with. And so I did that, and I've spent the last 25 years now involved in barter of that nature until I finally retired. But the point here is that you can make friends with adversity. You can turn it to your advantage. You can use anything you see as an obstacle, as a stepping stone to success. In fact, obstacles can only be seen when you've taken your eyes off of the goal. Keep them on the goal. Next to something else.